my creativity into miniatures
Yeah,
and showing
I
people
find fascinating. And we're going to put all of the links to get to you.
communicate and show that we're human, you know. And I
Yeah,
think sort of mental health agendas that are coming out now.
right. We are ready to go. Hi, Abby. How are you? Welcome, welcome.
Hello, my love. Very well,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you for joining this Meet the Miniaturist. Uh, we're not live streaming today, but we're going to be pre-recording this, which is exciting. So it's a new thing, but we're really happy to have you. I was crazy excited when I found you, as I find everybody on Instagram, because you really have this unique presentation. I mean, your work is great, but it's the angle, and we're
Yeah,
going to get right into this. But why don't we start just talking a little bit about yourself? I know you're in Wales, in the UK, South Wales, UK, and
that's
you
right.
are an artist. So start there. When did it all start? Do you have a background in art? Talk a little bit about the background.
Okay, so yeah, I've always been interested in art. I went to university, I studied art, studied textiles, and loved it. But there were sort of two pathways that you could go down. You could be like a fine artist or you could be a designer.
Right.
And all the money apparently was in if you became a graphic designer. Like they basically made it very clear to us that if you want to be a fine artist, you're going to have to struggle.
Right.
So it
Right.
kind of put me off a little bit. I always had my own kind of narrative and the thing, like my own sort of artistic
Yeah.
message that I wanted to get across.
Yeah.
But I, yeah, I was kind of put off a little bit. So I went more into the arts administration side of things.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was managing galleries and organizing exhibitions and things like that.
Yeah. So was there an
Um,
itch to actually create art? Were you doing it at the same time? I mean, you didn't walk away from your practice.
No, I was still doing like tinkering around in the background. It was
Yeah.
really important to me to
Away
carry.
from creating, even though you were doing all this administration stuff, which sounds typical for a lot of artists because not every artist can be a working artist.
Exactly.
So you were still always crafting. Was it in the miniature realm or was it other things? Like, what is your medium?
I dabbled with so many different media, to be honest. I get bored quite easily. So I
Mhm.
flit from collage to painting to textiles to woodworking. And yeah, so it was kind of, it was never really serious, but I was still considered myself a creative person. And then last year,
Mm.
I was in a lovely job in a design agency.
Ah,
um it was a fantastic job. I was studio manager. Again, I was facilitating the designer's creativity. I really pushed
yeah.
myself into it. And then lockdown happened. And I was
Oh,
just like, do you know what? If I don't do it now,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
never going to. And
Yeah.
sort of in my spare time, I'd gotten more into channeling my creativity into miniatures
Yeah.
and showing people, and the feedback I had was really good. They were like, you could sell these, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not really
Right.
interested. And then I thought, it was kind of August, September time, I was like, let's do
Yeah.
it, let's go.
Yeah. So you are you doing miniatures full time? This is you've moved. And it's so funny because COVID was I mean, it's going to take years to go back and figure out all the change that really occurred, these paradigm shifts. But for sure, it has become a paradigm shift for folks and what they do and what they want to do and really pursue. So, wow. So, COVID was the thing. You were like, I'm going to do this. I'm diving in. I'm going in all in.
Exactly. My
Wow.
husband is a self-employed photographer.
Okay. You're
um
both
and he
artists.
he's been in business for about 6 7 years now. And I saw
Yeah.
him do it, and I saw him struggle at the beginning, really struggle, and getting this business off the ground. And I thought, oh God, can we do this, both of us be self-employed?
Right.
But yeah, we just did it. I just took the
Yeah.
plunge, and it's been, so far it's been okay. So
Yeah. No, that's pretty awesome. That is just great. So, like I was saying, like what really drew me to your work is I mean, they're really great, fun miniatures, but there is definitely sort of a twist and an angle to them, which I find fascinating. And we're going to put all of the links to get to you and to see your work in the comments section so people can find you. But talk a little bit about that angle, that edge, and of course that name and how that name came about, because I mean, it's an awesome name.
It's definitely memorable.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about the name first. So
Okay. Okay.
Tobacco and Regrets. I knew when I wanted to launch as a miniaturist, I wanted a strong brand that people could latch onto. I'd worked in branding, in the design agency for years, so I knew
Yeah.
how it could really set you apart. So basically, my love of miniatures comes from my grandmother on my maternal side,
Yeah.
and she was just incredible. She was so resourceful and so she could just do anything. She decide, even in her 70s, she'd think, right, I'm going to retile my bathroom. And she
Yeah.
just
And
do it
just
on
did
her
it.
own. She just
Just did it.
learned to do it.
And what was
And
her involvement in miniatures?
so she was always very crafty, but she
Uh-huh.
always had dolls' houses
She
when I was younger.
did. So you grew
Oh,
up around dolls' houses.
honestly, every time I went to see her, she had something new, or
Yeah.
she'd made something new for it, or she
And
was wallpapering or
and would she let
carpeting.
you play, quote unquote, or was she one of those people that were like, just look and don't touch? Where was that?
She had her finished projects, which were just for looking, but the
Uh-huh.
ones that she was currently working on, she kind of encouraged me to, she'd show me what she was doing and how she was doing it. Like, she introduced me to polymer clay. And
Oh,
this is quite a few
wow.
years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
before YouTube, before it kind of exploded as a medium. Um,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah, so it basically, from that, she loved miniatures, but she was actually a chain smoker. She
Oh, here
loved
it
a
comes.
cigarette. Okay, so
Yes.
every time you go into her house, the whole place just stank of tobacco, stank of smoke.
Right. Right.
And anything that she would give me or gift me, or even myself after I came out of her house, you just smell of it. Now, she passed away quite a few years ago,
Uh-huh.
but I smell that tobacco smell. I smell that smoke smell now, and it just brings back fond memories. I know that sounds
Yeah.
kind of gross to a
Yeah.
lot of
No,
people.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
It's very evocative,
For
and
sure.
I kind of wanted to bring an homage to her into my brand, because I know she'd be amazed at me doing this today.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow. So now,
yeah.
did that make you have a dollhouse growing up, or you had your fill? You had your own. You
I
did.
haven't. I had quite a
Oh.
few.
Oh.
I'm
Also.
I'm actually terrible with dolls' houses. I never finish them. Like I
Yeah.
said, I
Yeah.
get bored really easily.
Right.
So I've never been able to like actually complete a whole house. I'm actually
But you
much.
have several of them, incomplete around.
I
Well,
can
that's
see.
awesome. Yeah. So talk a little bit about this edge, this sort of, this, how did you find, I mean, well, first of all, you've only been doing this for a few years,
Yeah.
sort of, really super focusing on the miniatures. And when you sort of taken a dive into, starting to craft, were you doing that stuff a while ago? Did it sort of solidify when you started doing it a few years ago? Where did this whole inspiration come from for your angle? And talk about that angle.
Okay.
What is that angle?
So I've always had, an interest in politics and society and
Mm, mm,
people and true crime and
yeah.
how people kind of evolve and devolve, psychologically.
Mhm.
And I it's kind of my love and my interest of all those different things, and also being a really nosy person,
Right. Right.
and kind of picking into people's lives and
Yeah.
finding out their secrets, and then creating scenes that have these hidden messages
Yeah.
and these sort of scenes that maybe you don't see as part of people's lives, you
Right.
know
And that's the biggest thing I think that drew me to your work is this is stuff that people don't normally see, but it is very much a part of life. And
exactly.
it's almost mundane.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that is what is so special about it when you make it in miniature. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Why is the mundane? And I think that is sort of happening in the miniatures world for
Mhm.
sure, as
Yeah.
people, the anti-Victorian thing happens or happened already, and now people are looking for more. So that touch, touch with reality is becoming more and more popular for sure.
Mhm.
And but you are doing it in ways that, you're playing with emotions, you're tagging, you're eliciting something. So I maybe you've answered my question for myself, but tell me why do you think in miniature that touches people so much?
I think I think people have been a bit disillusioned or a bit jaded by, social media and this idea of the perfect life, or
Mm,
this portrayal of the perfect life. And people are kind of more and more now rebelling against that and showing truer sides of themselves on social media, maybe sometimes too much.
mm,
But I kind of
yeah,
it's what cements us. It's what makes us communicate and show that we're human, and I
yeah,
think, with all the sort of mental health agendas that are coming out now and things like that, I think it's so important to communicate that these things happen.
no,
This is
yeah,
real. We are human, we are flawed ultimately, but
yeah,
it's beautiful. It can be beautiful,
yeah.
and it should be sort of celebrated and not sort of pushed away.
Right. Because a majority of us are living that way. And
Exactly.
life is not everyone's Instagram feed. And in
Exactly.
fact, that whole anti-Instagram thing, I don't know what the name of it is, but people are setting up these other accounts that are just for their close friends, where
Yeah.
they're showing their real life,
Yeah.
which I think is fascinating. It's sort of like that I'm going to show the perfect side of me thing.
Exactly.
So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And you're showing that in your miniatures, in your work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be plopping in images from some of your work. So, but I want to talk about some of the things that just strike me. Like when I first see them, I'm on your Instagram account. The first one I want to talk about is that stove.
Yeah.
Tell me about this stove. It's a vintage stove, but it's not that old. It's in the 50s, I would say. So talk about that stove. Tell me what you've done to it, and just tell me why I'm feeling so something from it. Because you
Funny.
are set out to do that, I bet.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. So
Yes.
I knew I wanted to do this kitchen scene, this kind of not a Stepford wife kitchen scene. It was going to be
Right.
dirty, but it was going to be nostalgic, and it was going to give
Yeah.
people kind of a memory of maybe their grandmother's kitchen or their great grandmother's kitchen.
Yeah.
And I actually Googled the stove. I can't remember for the life of the name of it now, but I'll send you a link to it. There was a
Is it?
lady on the Daily
Uh-huh.
Mail website,
Uh-huh.
and she'd had this particular stove for, I think, since the 1950s, and it still worked. She
Oh
still used
wow.
it. It was
Yeah.
pristine. So I modeled it on that because I just thought that was so lovely. But I'll find you the link and I'll send you the picture because it's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, but yeah, it's so funny. I've had so many people come up to me and say, "God, I know that stove or I know that kitchen," and
Yes.
even the sort of story behind it is quite dark. If people
Mm.
choose to, they can see past that and just get the nostalgia from it, which I love as well. It
Yes.
doesn't all have to be about the story. It can be about personal memories and
Yeah. You mentioned that in your bio, you talk a little bit about how you play with this sense of dark, but also lightness. So talk about that, and talk about how people can move past that when they see that to feel the good, because you're not seeing the grime. You're
exactly.
you you're feeling good. I'm not feeling bad when I see this miniature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
That's,
people, that's the beauty with miniatures. I think you can
mm,
pick out what you want in them, and you
mhm.
can choose. That's why I try to layer so much detail into my scenes,
Yeah.
because there's, for the people who want to look deeper, there are little hidden messages, there are metaphors, there's, lots of different things that you can be a detective and kind of piece things together. But then
Mhm.
if you want to just appreciate the miniature art form, and oh look, there's a tiny tiny little trash bag or something,
Right.
then that's cool as well. I love that. I love
Yeah.
the kind of uncanniness of, oh, I mean, I follow Lauren from Southern Gothic Doll's House. I
Oh
know she's
yes,
been
she's
doing it. She's
awesome. Yeah.
fantastic, and she did that fridge, the
Yeah, the
grimy
fridge.
fridge with all the cereal boxes on
Yeah.
top and just the newspaper cuttings and things
Yeah,
like
but
that.
that I didn't feel good about. I mean, as grimy, I didn't feel in a good way. I mean, I felt something, but I didn't feel. I didn't feel nostalgic. That took me to a different place. And that's
Yeah.
what's amazing about miniatures. These are they're two household appliances from a certain era. They're grimy and they're grunged up, but differently. They
Yeah,
tell a different story.
exactly.
Um, so I want to get to what like your favorites are, maybe, but
Hmm.
I want to tell you one of my favorites just
Okay,
because.
good.
This typewriter. Let's talk about this
Uh,
beautiful typewriter, which
yeah.
is not so beautiful. It's beat up. Talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Is it the green one or the?
Yes, the green
Yeah.
one.
So I made that.
Manual.
Yeah, I made that specially for Lauren, actually. Southern
Oh,
Gothic.
you did. Oh, this
Yes,
is a great little tie-in. I mean,
it is. So
oh wow.
she actually saw one of my other typewriters, and obviously because of the Southern Gothic theme of her house, she was in love with Shirley Jackson. So we had a look at a few images of Shirley Jackson's original typewriter,
Oh
and
wow.
we found that Royal Quiet Deluxe, it's called, and built it from there. And it was like it's perfect. I'm actually making another one at the moment. I haven't put the keys on it, but
Oh, I was so hoping you'd be able to put something up for us. Oh, that's lovely. Talk about some of the materials you use.
so this is it's a sort of a card, not a card stock, but it's a compressed card called Fomex, which has got
Interesting.
like plastic mixed in.
Interesting.
um and then wire, obviously, and paper, and then styrene, which again is kind of like very delicate
Yeah.
plastic that you can cut, but obviously the keys aren't on there. I've got to individually hand cut the keys, which is going to be fun.
So that's actually a multitude of materials you're using there. Talk about that first. I mean, while you're mentioning it, talk about that first material, that Fomex that you're saying. I want to hear a little bit more about that and what is that and what are the benefits of that versus some other materials?
So everybody's heard of foam core, which is, this kind of stuff. So it's,
Yes.
you've got two bits of card and then you've got the foamy bit in the middle,
Yes.
which is great for building structures. Foam X
Ooh.
is very kind of compressed. It's almost like super thick
Oh,
cardstock. But the
yes.
good thing is because it's got this plastic sort of embedded in it, you can sand it and shape it and cut it, and it doesn't fray.
Oh.
Um, and it's brilliant. It kind of acts, it's like wood almost, but it's very easy to cut.
Mhm.
It's just great. It's really, really versatile, and you can emboss into it as well.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I've seen that material before, but I didn't know what anyone would use it like. And now this is great. This is
Yeah.
great that do you fill those little holes or you don't fill, you do fill the spaces.
Yes.
Makes
So
it strong.
I've got plastic putty. So plastic
Ah,
putty here. So again, you can cut and sand that. And then honestly, general just wood filler you get from the DIY shop, just
yeah.
to kind of smooth it over and then sand it back. I think that is the key with miniatures,
Hmm.
is to shape and take as much time as possible to cut and sand with that really, really fine detail. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what sets them apart.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, do you have a favorite piece? And I'm noticing now there is that other typewriter. You do have more than one typewriter here.
I
So
do.
let's talk about what is one of your favorite pieces and why.
Okay. Well, I got my obsession series behind me, which is it's like a triptych. So I'm starting to put that up on TikTok at the moment, but
Ah,
I'll show you my favorite one.
okay.
Um,
So it's something recent. It's something you're working on now.
so this is
Oh,
recently
oh,
finished. I did this
oh.
for a show. Hang on, let me kind of angle the light.
Is that
Uh,
on your Instagram yet or no?
it's
It
on
is.
Instagram and it's on TikTok. Well, this one's going up on TikTok next. But
Okay.
this is loosely based
Oh,
on the Unabomber cabin.
oh. I
Um,
did see it on TikTok.
yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
So it's kind of a triptych called Obsession. So there's
Uh-huh.
one, this is the outcast. There's another one, which is the photographer. And then the one in the middle is the detective. And he is the one that's investigating both of these guys, basically. But this is my personal favorite just because it was the first one that I did. Again, it's got lots of hidden detail in it.
Yeah.
Um, I've actually, sorry about the rough edges. I've actually taken these out of the frames to be able to show you, but
Yeah. So now did you do research and are those real images from other, like where did you find it?
so the
Yeah.
the backstory is really important.
Mhm.
So
I love it.
the actual news reports are real about real bombings, and I didn't want to use the actual Unabomber stories just because I felt like I didn't want to celebrate Ted
Yep.
Kaczynski.
Glorify him.
It was more about his environment and how it looked that fascinated
Mm.
me.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but yeah, I kind of a lot of the stories I based on. I mean, I listen to so much true crime and loads of true crime podcasts and things like that, and then I piece together little bits and make my own stories. That's kind of I've always said I want to write a book, so
Yeah.
it's kind of part of it. That's the kind of joy is putting together this make believe,
Yeah.
slightly dark tale.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that there's so much involved in that one piece. You know, there's structure, there's
Yeah.
composition, there's the miniatures themselves, all different materials. Is there something that you zoom in on that you love out of
Okay.
all of that? Because it is so much.
So my favorite bits. Oh,
Yeah.
God, see, this is why I could never be on YouTube. I can't do the
There you go.
angle.
That's very bright right now. It's perfect. What do we look?
So
Yeah.
on the bed there is a shotgun
Oh, wow.
and
Yep.
shotgun shells.
Oh,
And
wow.
I absolutely loved making that. I know that sounds strange, and obviously there's everything going around in America with guns at the moment, and it's
Yeah, no,
awful.
yeah, but now get into why. Like, what is it about? Was it the wood? Did you
It's something.
carved, sanding, forming? I mean, there's so much involved.
Yes, and it's probably one of the most detailed
See, that's
pieces
it.
that I've done.
Really?
Because I mean they are so intricate. They are such intricate pieces of engineering, and it's again not glorifying them, but they are fascinating to look how they've been put together and in a
Sure.
miniature form as well. It
Interesting.
it was quite intimidating to make it,
Yeah.
but I got
Did
there,
it
so it's kind of one of my proud moments, I guess.
for sure. Very nice. And what is that? What is that made of? Is it wood and metal, or is it all wood and it's
So it's wood and then styrene again. So
that
styrene is like ABS plastic. It's this
got it.
sort of thing. But again, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so versatile.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
I
that was that for that piece. You
yeah,
enjoyed making that tiny intricate rifle. Wow.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a challenge, but it was a really good one. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably learn something new with each new undertaking.
yeah,
And that's what it also is great about being a miniaturist. It's like you can keep learning, and then you know you can move on, or you can even make what you learned before even better. There,
exactly.
it's really endless. I tell people all the time, you really have to figure out what you want to do and do it. Otherwise, you can be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Whether as a miniaturist, a maker, a collector. I mean, it took me like 25 years to figure out what it was I wanted to collect.
Yeah.
25 years. I'd walk into shows and I'd be like, it was too overwhelming. Now I really know what I'm looking for. So
Yeah.
anyway, but all right, so let's talk a little bit about the shows you're doing. So you did that piece for a show. Is that happening now?
So I exhibit a lot of my work in a gallery in Brighton called
Oh,
Prescription Art.
perfect. Oh, okay.
So they've been fantastic. They've supported me right from the beginning, and
Yeah.
they've got a lot of my frameworks there. But these particular ones were done for Miniatura, which
Oh,
is a miniature show in the
yeah, Spain.
UK.
Oh, I thought it was Spain.
No, there's another one. It is
Oh,
called Miniatura as well.
is it her? Is it the same producer?
No.
Oh,
So
oh,
Andy Hopwood, he's a great guy. He does this work. It
oh.
was in the NEC in Birmingham. It was a fantastic show,
Oh,
but it
so
was
that
my
happened
first
already.
one. It's happened
Okay.
already, yeah.
It happened already. Were you selling at the show? Or was it just presentation? You were selling. So that was
Yeah,
your first one. All right. Maybe we'll get to see you in the States sometime at maybe one of our shows. How
I would.
fabulous would that be?
I would love that. I would love to do Chicago.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, we are in talks at the moment.
Perfect.
I would
See,
love
oh, I'm not the only, I wanted to be the only one who found you, but you're already known. One more time on the name of that, the gallery, because I want to make sure I want to put that in the comment section.
Okay. So Prescription Art, and they're in Brighton.
Okay. Yeah, Brighton seems to be a pretty great hub for artists and art. And I have a friend who's in Brighton. It's like, yeah, it's happening.
Really
Really happening.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
really lovely.
All right, so you're entering the show circuit, you're showing in art galleries, you're planning maybe, fingers crossed, a trip over to do the
Yeah.
Chicago show. We'll be looking out I'll be looking for that. I'll be following you
Awesome.
to find out about that. What about some projects? Like what is on your bucket list of projects that you
Okay.
want to hit? And yeah.
So my next project, I'm doing sort of more social commentary scenes. My
Mm.
next project, kind of this size, is called Cottage Industry.
Oh,
And I'll give you a little bit of a background, but not too much. So I don't know whether you've heard of like the cost of living crisis in the UK that's going on at the
okay.
moment. This miniature is going to be set in a little old lady's house. So imagine very chintzy, lots of pink, doilies everywhere, you know, just old fashioned but
Yeah.
lovely, beautifully kept. And
Uh-huh.
it's basically gonna be a frontwards facing scene of her hallway and her staircase.
Oh.
And her understairs cupboard will be slightly ajar.
Mm. Oh.
Some more
There,
money on the side.
wait, so say that again. You cut out for just a second.
Sorry.
No, no,
No,
yeah.
where did I go from?
Just go from the understairs. So
Okay.
it's slightly, the door's open a little bit.
So she's got the understairs cupboard, it's open slightly, and she has taken up a lucrative pastime that isn't necessarily legal in the UK, let's put it that way.
You go,
And so I'll
Grandma.
leave that to your imaginations, because yeah, I'll make it and bring it out soon. But again, it's that
Oh,
kind of
wow.
reality, the
Yeah.
darkness, but also the humor behind it is kind of important to
Oh,
mix in
wow.
there.
That is just awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow is all I can say. Well, I think, I can chat with you for days. Thank you so much for doing this and joining me today. I think everyone who's watching this is going to enjoy it. I'm going to make sure I put all of the links in below. You also have an Etsy
I do.
space where you sell on, so I'll make sure I put that in the link
Thank
also.
you.
I look forward to seeing everything you're doing. You must follow on Instagram. You must follow on TikTok. And yes, just it. Thank you so much
Thank
for all
you.
of that you're doing. It's really awesome stuff.
Thank you for your support as well. I really do
Yeah,
appreciate it.
my pleasure. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again.
Thank you, my love.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.